In 1993, researchers found another innovation known as CRISPR, which permitted them to treat serious illnesses through hereditary altering. Anyway, in 2016, the U.S. government prohibited CRISPR in view of its true capacity for abuse, calling it a weapon of mass obliteration. In the current day, the space station Athena-1 is in outright demolishes and the whole group is dead aside from Carrie, who is asking the control space for help. Anyway, her manager won't make the way for the departure container except if Carrie recovers the mutagen tests first. Apprehensive, however frantic to get by, Carrie goes through the disaster area and gets the 3 examples. However, tragically she's spotted by the foe. It just so happens, an investigation turned out badly has made a massive transformed rodent that went off the deep end. Also, presently it's coming after Carrie. The space traveler surges away, avoiding the trash and the flares as quick as possible, and she makes it into the getaway container just before the rodent can get her. Carrie leaves and watches the station detonate. However, tragically the rodent's frenzy has harmed the case as well, so it additionally detonates and kills Carrie while the pieces tumble to Earth. At some point later at San Diego Natural Life Asylum, primatologist Davis presents his companion Nelson and 2 new workers to the gorilla fenced-in area. The most current part, Pavo, is very forceful and is irritating the females, so Davis utilizes gesture-based communication to quiet him down. At that point, Davis' dearest companion George appears. What's more, the presence of another male gorilla makes Pavo get forceful once more. One of the representatives moves frightened and attempts to run off, so Pavo pursues him and pushes him to the floor. In any case, prior to anything serious occurs, George cuts in and drives Pavo off. When it's finished, George and Davis trade many jokes through communication via gestures, and Davis reminds George that Pavo is family now, so he additionally should be secured. At the point when Davis requests a clench hand knock, George gives him the center finger first. Subsequently, one of the workers attempts to ask Davis out, however he turns her down, and Nelson prods him for favoring creatures over individuals. Later at night, the 3 mutagen canisters that Carrie recovered show up on the planet. One terrains in the asylum. What's more, splashes George with its items. The subsequent one terrains in the timberland and is tracked down by a wolf, while the third one falls into the waterway and it's sculpted by a crocodile. The following day, Davis shows up at the asylum to hear terrible news from Nelson. George is acting surprisingly forcefully. What's more, has broken into the Grizzly Nook, where he killed a bear. At the point when Davis minds George, he finds the gorilla has been injured by the bear as well. George is miserable, and he concedes he made a botch and apologizes, yet the greatest shock is that George has developed a lot greater in size. Davis' group explores the region, and when they find the canister, Davis chooses to save it for research. Afterward, he concentrates on George's blood work and figures it has neither rhyme nor reason, since there's a deadly grouping of development chemical, which ought to have been killed him in a split second. Nelson figures George ought to be put down, however Davis denies until they find out more. In the meantime, Brett and Claire are having a contention. Their organization Energyne is the one behind the examination of the mutagen, and Brett is angry over all the cash they've lost when the station detonated. Anyway, Claire is content with the outcomes in light of the fact that the changed rodent affirms the undertaking Frenzy Explorer is fruitful. She moreover has trust for progress, since there's a report from the Meteor Society uncovering the area of one of the compartments, which was made to endure re-emergence, so she employs Burke and his private military help to get it. Burke's group goes to the woods and finds that the canister has been harmed and discharged. In addition to every one of the wolves have been killed, which they report to Claire. This causes her to understand the wolf is transforming, so she arranges Burke to catch the monster. In the city, Kate watches the news and learns both about the Athena-1 misfortune and George's assault on the bear. Since she's a previous Energyne researcher, she draws an obvious conclusion and hurries to the safe haven, where she lets Davis know that the canister he found is an example she made. Davis is careful about her. However, Kate starts referencing every one of the side effects George is going through to demonstrate she's the genuine article and the one in particular that can fix George. It turns out the mutagen is altering George's DNA by blending in with DNA from different creatures, making him develop quickly and become more forceful. Unexpectedly, George becomes infuriated and begins stirring things up around town until he breaks it and getaways. Then, at that point, he starts raging through the asylum and spreading turmoil among the visitors. In any event, obliterating vehicles with his clenched hands. The police quickly show up and prepare to shoot him, yet Davis cuts in and quiets George down utilizing gesture-based communication. The police put down their weapons, However, a sharpshooter in a helicopter doesn't get the update and wrecks George with sedative darts. In the meantime, in the woodland, Burke, what's more, his group run over Ralph, the changed wolf. They figure out how to shoot him down from the helicopter. Then, at that point, they land to go searching for the body. Anyway, the body is gone, and on second thought they track down a tremendous paw print on the ground, which makes a couple of troopers frightened. Minutes after the fact, Ralph abruptly assaults starts killing every one of the fighters individually. They attempt to guard themselves with their weapons. Furthermore, the helicopter utilizes an assault rifle too. However, after the previous shot, Ralph has created an extremely toughness and the shots just stimulate him. The fact that he can jump unimaginably makes him moreover developed so large up high and assault the helicopter, annihilating it. On the ground, Burke is the as it were survivor and endeavors to battle the wolf once more. However, Ralph effectively gobbles up him. At night, Davis and Kate are captured by Specialist Russell of the FBI for doing unlawful trials on George, who is being removed in an administration plane with them. At the point when Davis sees George in the enclosure, he sees his injuries are as of now recuperating. Then Russell attempts to question them, prodding Davis for stopping the military to deal with creatures and acting like a total cunt by offending the team and disregarding their alerts on how risky all at George in a plane. He likewise uncovers that Kate was terminated from Energyne quite a while back after she attempted to take the organization's exploration, for which she burned through 13 months in jail. This makes Kate concede she can't really fix George, and presently Davis has no faith in her any longer. Back in Energyne, Claire learns Kate was captured. Furthermore, Brett believes she's assembling proof to cut down the organization, so he considers her to be a danger. It's likewise uncovered that Claire has a remedy for the mutagen, so she makes an arrangement. She'll draw in every one of the change creatures to her structure by utilizing low recurrence radio waves, and the tactical will be hanging tight for them to kill them. That way Claire can gather the DNA and sell it later. Actually, she doesn't stress over Kate on the grounds that she's certain George will kill everybody in the plane eventually. When Claire turns on the gadget, Ralph promptly quits rampaging through the streets and the vehicles also begins advancing toward the city. Lizzie the changed crocodile additionally faculties it and takes off also. On the plane, George should be quieted. However, Claire's stunt makes him awake and totally angry. He annihilates the enclosure and starts destroying all that encompasses him, throwing individuals around as though they didn't weigh anything. The gatekeepers begin taking shots at him without any result, and at the point when Russell attempts to pursue him, George rapidly wrecks him under his foot. Davis attempts yet again conversing with him, yet at that point another warrior begins shooting once more, infuriating George. A shot winds up catching up with a container of explosives that blow and obliterate the plane's turbine, making it begin going down. While George is moved against the wall by a truck, Davis hurries to put parachutes on himself, Kate, and Russell, and they figure out how to leap off the plane just before it crashes with George inside it. Anyway, when they land and check the accident site, they don't find the body. There's a path on the grass, however, demonstrating George made do and is advancing to the city as well. At Energyne, Claire's incensed to hear Kate endure the plane accident when the FBI shows up to remove the organization's all's exploration and records. Endeavoring to clean her own name, Claire lets the specialists know that it was Kate behind all the tumult brought about by the monsters. Back to Davis, he attempts to leave Kate behind since he's burnt out on continuously seeing the most awful of mankind, which he's now got a great deal of during the conflict. At the point when he safeguarded George, he was only a child stowing away under the vehicle while he watched individuals butchering his mom. Anyway, Davis chooses to give Kate a chance when she makes sense of why she made CRISPR. She needed to fix her sibling's lethal sickness. However, when the organization needed to weaponize the mutagen, she attempted to obliterate it and was sent to jail for it. While she was secured, her sibling kicked the bucket. Russell additionally now enjoys the pair since they saved his life, so he reaches out to his men to be safeguarded. The gathering is then taken to a flying corps base, where Colonel Blake shows them film of George and Ralph running to the city. Davis brings up is beyond the realm of possibilities for a gorilla and a wolf to go in an orderly fashion to a similar objective, and Kate says they're being called by something, meaning Claire must be holding up with a remedy. Russell shields their recommendation. However, Blake doesn't need regular citizens included also, sends them away. Outside, Davis attempts to haggle with the fighters to let them go, yet, since it doesn't work, he stirs something up and rapidly takes the two watchmen out. Then they attempt to take a helicopter, and when Russell sees them, He gives them the keys and a telephone to remain in touch. In the meantime, Blake's group endeavors to stop the monsters, yet their weapons including the enormous blasts are pointless, and the whole armed force is cleared out. This causes Blake to choose to empty the city before the monsters arrive, and Russell sends that data to Davis, who doesn't figure they can get everybody out in time. At the point when George and Ralph show up at the city, the annihilation quickly starts. They cut down structures, obliterate vehicles, and, surprisingly, hit any helicopter that draws nearer. The tactical meets them with an immense multitude of tanks and weaponry. However, nothing works, and the monsters simply keep themselves occupied with destroying everything in their way. Before long, Lizzie additionally shows up through the stream, joining different monsters to cause significantly more harm, utilizing its motor mouth to nibble the tanks and planes that disrupt the general flow. Frantic for an answer, Blake arranges his men to prepare a bomb to clear out portion of the city. Russell attempts to adjust his perspective, making sense of Davis and Kate are en route to recover the remedy. Be that as it may, Blake has little to no faith in them after they took his helicopter and throws Russell out. At that point, Russell obtains the consequence of the proof tracked down in the organization and requires a ride so he can do a few captures. While the stream with the bomb takes off, Davis and Kate come to Energine and take 3 vials of counteractant. Anyway, Claire sees them on the surveillance cameras and arrives at stop them. Making sense of the remedy stops the animosity, however will keep the monster's size. Then she takes the vials from Kate and shoots Davis, who tumbles to the ground oblivious. Subsequently, Claire takes Kate as a prisoner and takes her to the rooftop with her, yet before they can get away from in a helicopter, George moves to the highest point of the structure and breaks the helicopter's tail. This additionally nearly kills Kate, yet at that point Davis returns and snatches her as he makes sense of the slug didn't hit any indispensable organs. While George continues to obliterate the receiving wire conveying the message, Kate uncovers that she figured out how to keep one of the vials, so they can in any case save George in any event. Claire attempts to defy the team once more, so Kate utilizes the opportunity to place the remedy in her sack prior to punching her as Davis requires his companion. George approaches and snatches Kate to eat her, in this way getting the remedy too. In the interim, Brett is attempting to get away from through the steps, taking the last PC and a guinea pig with him so he can make business once more at a later time. He catches Russell on the ground floor, and the specialist takes the things from him in return for allowing him to go as opposed to capturing him. Anyway, when Brett makes it outside, he's unexpectedly squashed by falling garbage. Outside, Lizzie and Ralph participate in the annihilation of the structure while George begins to quiet down because of the antitoxin. Davis and Kate take the wrecked helicopter. Just previously the structure disintegrates down, making the helicopter crash to the ground, yet in addition permitting the pair to make do. Then, at that point, Davis sees there are heaps of regular people still around, and that George is at long last feeling improved. Lizzie and Ralph are battling one another, so Davis advises Kate to go find Russell while he arms himself up and gets the battle together with George. The monsters roll around and trade horrible hits, yet in the end Lizzie kills Ralph by messing with him on the neck. Presently it's George versus Lizzie, yet it appears George is battling to acquire the high ground, so Davis tosses a belt of explosives at Lizzie's back. Sadly, Lizzie has developed exceptionally strong and the explosives try not to cause a lot of harm. Lizzie recuperates rapidly and tosses George against a structure, causing a steel bar to go through the gorilla's chest. Then, at that point, Lizzie attempts to draw nearer to complete him. In any case, Davis comes through and utilizes however many weapons as he can take from the helicopter to divert the crocodile. Lizzie gets bulldozed and starts pursuing Davis, practically killing him. Anyway, George takes the steel bar and hops in the air to wound Lizzie in the eyes. At last closure the battle. Kate arrives at Russell and educates him regarding the cure, who calls Blake to pass the message. Blake takes note the passings on the screens and chooses to cut short the airstrike mission. It is on to acknowledge George the Great side. Sadly, George drops in the wake of winning, and Davis needs to pause for a minute to lament his dearest companion. Be that as it may, when he's going to leave, Davis sees some jerking and understands George is simply meddling with him. The gorilla offers his center finger before Davis and he share a fist bump. Presently, Davis' next mission is to find where they can put George. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and notification bell for more videos like this.